Hello, I'm John Vervaeke. I'm a cognitive psychologist and a cognitive scientist at the University of Toronto. I want to comment on T.S. Eliot's Wasteland. The poem provokes questions in us. We confront it, and it won't cohere into a single, unified understanding. Constantly shifting voices of the poem, the endless illusions that defy any final conclusion, the constant juxtapositions of formats and languages give us simultaneously too many meanings, yet no one coherent meaning within which we can reliably orient ourselves. And I propose this is exactly the designed function of the poem. It frustrates our framing and provokes us to try and try again to find that unifying insight that nevertheless continues to elude us again and again. I propose that in this way, the poem is a prophecy of the meaning crisis. I mean prophecy in both senses of the word. I mean foretelling, pointing to what is coming, what is imminent, but also telling forth, getting us to realize and recognize pertinent patterns that may be eluding our awareness right now. We can think of some famous questions asked by Eliot of modernity. Where is the life we have lost in living? Where is the wisdom we have lost in knowledge? Where is the knowledge we have lost in information? Eliot's homeland was Britain. In a 2019 survey in the UK, found that 89% of people 16 to 29 years old of age found their lives meaningless. The overall average for all age groups was 80%. This in spite of the fact that meaningfulness, finding meaning in life, is very predictive of mental health, resistance to suicide, resiliency in the face of loss and failure, and the ability to form significant relationships with others. And so when meaning is at risk, most of our cognitive agency and our sense of the worth of our lives is at risk. We can see this in many symptoms of the meaning crisis pervasive in our culture right now. Increase in suicide, the mental health crisis, the loneliness crisis, the addiction crisis, the virtual exodus where people are preferring the virtual world over the real world, neo-Gnosticism in which people are pursuing all kinds of ways of trying to escape from reality, but also some positive responses, the mindfulness revolution, the reemergence into prominence of Stoicism and related forms of Neoplatonism, Buddhism, Taoism. These are all people searching for wisdom and that sense of connectedness to oneself, to others, and the world that is so central to meaning in life. But if we look around the pervasiveness of these symptoms and the nihilism, the cynicism, and the sense of ever increasing, as Frankfurt puts it, bullshit around us, we seem to more and more be losing the life within all of our living. Now, in my work as a cognitive psychologist and a cognitive scientist, I argue that the very processes that make us intelligently adaptive and fitted to the world cognitively so we can solve our problems, exercise our agency, form our relationships, those very adaptive processes also make us perennially prone to self-deceptive, self-destructive behavior. So across time, culture, place, human beings have sought ways of ameliorating that self-deceptive foolishness while not undermining the machinery's ability to connect us to the world, to give us meaning in life. That balance between ameliorating the foolishness while still enhancing the adaptive fittedness That's wisdom. And our culture is suffering from a wisdom crisis. You can answer me when I ask, where do you go for information? You can probably answer me when I ask, where do you go for knowledge? And when I ask you, where do you go for wisdom? What do you say? And that's Eliot's point. Where do we go? Where do we go? We see far too many meanings, things that are salient and grab our attention and arouse us and move our affect, but we drift and it doesn't cohere. There are illusions and connections, but yet we don't form stable relationships. The number of friends people have on average, good friends, is steadily declining. We are, as Eliot said, we are distracted from distraction by distraction. Too many meanings and yet no coherent meaning that connects us to ourselves, to other people, and reality. So we drown in an ocean of isolated meanings while we wander in a wasteland without wisdom. The poem, The Wasteland, subjects us to all of this. It exemplifies it, even prophesies about it. It is not so much that we are told it as we undergo it. This strongly suggests that exemplifying the poem's meaning in a performance that we undergo, rather than discussing the words of the poem and the conceptual meaning, is perhaps the best response we can give to this valuable and powerful poem that prophesies the meaning crisis. Thank you for your time and attention.